So we're doing a unit chat. The question is simply how many, and you decide how many what's by looking at the image and putting a number in the chat. And then go ahead and scroll back to other people's replies and reply and say where you think that they got their number. What was it that they were seeing that gave their number? And I like that I'm seeing questions to each other and replies also. So I see 13 labeled differently. I see that some people called it the total number of dice. The word blocks was used. And I also saw 13 groups as another way to describe what you're seeing. There could be other labels for 13, other units for 13, but there's some other numbers like help us out. What do we think Mark is thinking? Mark said 46. Shanice, can you say more about group of three? What was that going to or connected with? Okay. So I should have been replying in the chat there. So you saw that one way to look is to say there are three rows. Awesome. Hopefully those of you that were looking at this and being like, I'm starting off with math as soon as I walk in the door. Hopefully that's giving you an idea of the variety of answers that we could have. I see another new number, 20. So just to give the directions one more time for people who have joined us, we're looking at this image and we're asking how many, and you're giving just your number in the chat, and then you can reply to somebody else and ask them about what they were seeing to have gotten that number. So that word unit, you could in this case use it like label. Mm. I also saw a response that looks like an equation. Mm. Aha. And now I see that Sarah was already thinking about an equation. Now we're taking this further. All right, keep challenging each other. I think you got it this way. Is that how you saw it? Aha. Emma, you figured out D's answer? So this is called a unit chat. You could be looking at any number of things inspired by the image. Before we move away from this activity, and feel free to do a little more chatting to each other about that, before we move away, pause and think about what mathematical ahas someone can have from this activity. And imagine we spent more time on it and took a little further. And I also would like to imagine if it was my class, I would devote the time to it to have a verbal discussion and not rely on people's ability to type quickly and to the digital literacy of the chat. Um, awesome. Now I want to keep reading those. So, so pause from the chat and think about what ahas someone could have from this. And go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, so okay, I'm going to do a quick welcome so we can get right back to making math fun, which Connie and Heidi are already doing for us. That's kind of sneaky that you're making us have fun and thinking at the same time. So, welcome to this AALPD, which is the Association of Adult Literacy Professional Developers webinar. Um, and thank you to Connie Rivera and Heidi Schuler from ANN, who are going to tell you a little bit more about ANN and take us through this webinar today. So I'll tell you just a little bit about AALPD and how to join us, and then I'm going to turn it right back over to them. So we have three main purposes for AALPDs. We provide a community and network for PDers to get together, to talk, to get to know each other. We provide professional development for professional development practitioners, which is what is happening in this hour. And we also set standards for PD and adult education based on research in this field. And Astrid Leiden is here from our board, and she's already put in, it's free. It's run by all volunteers, so please come join us. And with that, I'm going to mute myself and continue learning from these two fantastic trainers.
Thank you, Sarah. As Sarah said, I'm Heidi Schuler, joined by Connie Rivera, my colleague. Both of us have been with ANN for a long time, over a decade, and both have served on the board as president. Both are now past presidents, and I can speak for myself that when I say joining ANN was a lifeline for when I was teaching math, and I was the only person in my entire county who was really focused on that. And came to understand the importance of being in community and a network that allows me to attend professional development and have thought partners, especially if when I was in the classroom, I was the only person really asking questions and needing resources. So for me, that's been the purpose of being a member of the Adult Numeracy Network and why I'm still plugged in. Connie, anything you want to add on to that?
Um, it's a professional development organization that has um, connections with places like NCTM, the National Council for Teachers of Mathematics, and other professionals, and keeps us aware of everything that's going on in the world of numeracy, which we'll explain in a minute too.
Yeah, thank you. If you go on to the next slide. So when as you experienced when you first got in here, we were doing a math routine, and the idea was the anticipation is everyone who comes to a professional development that ANN participates in, we're expecting that they may have some anxiety about math. They also may have just some anxiety of learning in community, a new community in particular. And so one of the major principles for ANN's professional development is that we design it anticipating some of that anxiety, and also that we expect everyone to feel like they can be a math learner and a math thinker. We want to make that accessible to people regardless of their expertise in math, whether they get to teach math or they have to teach math, which is two very different perspectives. We want to create a welcoming space that everyone feels that math is accessible to them, that they don't have to be the math expert. We are all learners of math first before we're talking about being teachers of math, because we get to learn from one another every time we're in community. And so that's a major principle for the Adult Numeracy Network in our PD principles in particular. And Dee, thank you, Dee, dropped in the chat our ANN website, and we are all math learners. Dee is our current president, and we're glad that she's here as well. So we are introducing you to an instructional routine to kind of foster some of that dynamic from the jump, but also so you get to experience it as we're talking through what leads to professional development and numeracy in particular, what helps us get there. All right, next slide. So before we can really talk about math and numeracy, it helps to have a definition of numeracy. And it's one of those quirky terms that when you share it with people, they do one, ask if they heard you correctly, and two, what in the world does it mean? So on our website, which was Connie just dropped in the chat, we do have a link to a resource to just define it. And so on the screen, you see numeracy is the ability to access, use, interpret, and communicate mathematical information and ideas in order to engage in and manage the mathematical demands of a range of situations in adult life. And that's a mouthful. That's a lot to try and hold in your mind as you're learning about it. And this is a resource, or excuse me, a definition that came, it's out of the PIOC study, and that's still in use today. And so that's what that one asterisk on there is representing. It's a definition that has a lot of mathy terms in it. And so we found it more useful to put some pictures to describe what's happening. And this goes along with numerate behavior. So numerate behavior, if we're talking about what that looks like, numerate behavior involves managing a situation or solving a problem in a real context. And you see a picture of that on the right-hand side. Numerate behavior involves managing a situation or solving a problem in a real context by responding, which means we get to collaborate and communicate, to information about mathematical ideas. And those ideas can show up in organized fashion through graphs. It can show up in organizing data in patterns in an in-out table. But we're organizing and communicating about that information. And they're represented in a range of ways. It doesn't have to be just naked numbers like a percent. It can be a visual. And that multiple representations does display the ability of a person to express their numeracy and their understanding of something. And it requires activation of a range of enabling knowledge, behaviors, and processes. And that activation, meaning you can draw on it because it's a toolbox filled with all kinds of ways of understanding it and communicating about it and representing it from your personal experiences. But it shows up as a tool for problem solving and being able to help other people with skills, math and literacy skills. It boosts confidence. And that's the power of being numerate. That's the power of having more than just things memorized, which might be more of our math skills that we're talking about. So numeracy is a really powerful tool, but it takes time to develop, and it means going to professional development like what we're doing today and being in communities where this is talked about. There are a couple of resources tagged at the bottom. The PIOC research study, the most recent results, we'll share a little bit more about that. And then the uh, research from Ido Gall and others at the bottom, the ALL survey, a conceptual framework and pilot results. These are resources that are actually on our website, on the Adult Numeracy Network website. There are a couple of things dropped in the chat. One is advocating for numeracy. This was a research, or not a research, this was an article I wrote for the Math Practitioner, which is our newsletter, ANN newsletter. And it came out of the AFLA week, the Adult Education Family Literacy Advocacy Week. We are a member of the National Coalition for Literacy, and that's our way to stay plugged into the policy work that goes on. But it's also a way for us to amplify our message, which is about, in this case, numeracy, and just clarifying why it's important to talk about, but why it matters in the real world in the context of things like the PIOC results, which showed there's this ever-widening gap between people who are adults who are at the highest math proficiency level and those at the lowest level. And this gap is getting ever wider. And so it's an important piece of the conversation. So you have the article there if you want to check it out later on. We're also, as Connie said, we're affiliate members of the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. We are a professional organization for those of us who get to teach adult math and numeracy. And so we stay connected to our national partners so that we can continue to learn from them and they from us. We also are partners, affiliate partners with the Adults Learning Mathematics, which is our international partner group. And they do more research on this side of things around the world. And so you'll see their names highly represented in the PIOC study. We learn from them. And so we get to go to their professional development. They come to ours and we co-sponsor things together. Likewise, we're members of COABE and as a strand partner, we create the Math and Numeracy strand at COABE every year at the national conference. And we have our own pre-conference that we do as well. So it's a couple of the things that we do to get the message out about what we do to support numeracy.
Thank you, Heidi. So the title of this session is Supporting Numeracy PD. and it came from this question of how do we as professional developers support the PD for agencies and for groups. And I think an important question to start that off is to talk about what good math PD looks like. Uh, that's coming next. Feel like is what we're starting with. So you could be reflecting on a prior experience. You could be reflecting on an experience that was the opposite of what you would like good math PD to feel like. And it could be that you're connecting it to our opening activity that we got started with. But I'm going to go to a screen where I can type on this one and feel free to unmute. You can use the chat. I'll be monitoring that too. And let's put down some ideas about what good math professional development feels like. So thank you, Emma. The time I think is a significant word in what you said. And that's because I always felt like math was about who was fastest. It turns out it's not, but that is what all of the school experiences that I had made me feel like that only the people who were good at math were the people who were fast and fast at calculation. So that word right there really speaks to me. Um, Relevant, applicable, practical application. And so you're getting at that same idea when I said about time, a safe place. Empowering. I love that word. Thank you, Amanda. And y'all are welcome to unmute. I might not be able to keep up with you.
Accessible, I think, was one earlier.
Okay. Oops. Let me know if I missed any others. Tools to solve classroom dilemmas. I missed that piece. So we all have some kind of idea of what to expect from the PD that's fulfilling for us. Inspired. I'm going to add that here so I don't type off the screen. New stuff. Stretches. Yes. A chance for us to feel like learners is a theme that I saw in several of the things that you posted. So we're going to be looking at two different categories of the principles for professional development. And we just looked earlier at design, a couple ideas with Heidi, and we're also going to look at content. So the relevance to your practice and um, the way that you're learning is part of the design of PD. And we also could think about like new ideas and new strategies and things as part of the content that's in our PD. So back to here. So I selected these two from the content principles list because I felt like when we were engaging with the unit chat, I know it's just a little taste of what that could be like, but that we were engaging with these two principles. So our PD opportunities should focus on improving teachers' abilities to establish a deep understanding of mathematics and use instructional strategies with a variety of materials to accomplish learning goals. So it's amazing the kinds of things you can do with just providing an image and even uh, more cool, all of the tools that we can use to represent ideas, whether it's virtual or in person. And I'm going to keep coming back to that deep understanding piece. Um, for me, that was what was missing in my school experience. And this deep understanding is connected to knowing what the big ideas are. We spend far too much time in this world of like school math, and that's traditionally been about calculating and following rules. And Numeracy PD needs to emphasize the creative side, the problem solving side that was in the definition that Heidi gave. So, problem solving, not like the book exercises that we call problems, but actual problem solving and thinking, whether it's contextualized or not, it's the deeper thinking level that helps us take those ideas, make them strong, and then apply them to other things later on. Once we know the like structure, the underlying structure and the big ideas of mathematics, then we know the areas where we can be flexible and be creative. Um, just a quick story. I thought that my teacher in middle school had an Aunt Sally because he told us all about this, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And for sure, I thought he had one. And then it turns out my teacher the next year had an Aunt Sally. And it was just this like way to memorize this order of operations thing, which turns out that it's not even about just following the order, but the big idea behind that is the properties of operations and how numbers work together. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about with big ideas. So time check. Yes, I'm going to ask you this question. So, what are some big ideas that somebody could have taken away from the unit chat? And it's fine if your idea isn't huge, but like, what are the things that made you have an aha that you jotted down when we finished up the opening unit chat question? What kinds of realizations did you have when you looked at somebody else's number? I know I had one because I thought the three was connected to something else, not an example of a three. And I was like, Rose, of course. That was an aha for me. What kinds of ahas did you have?
Mm, I was thinking about when somebody says the colors, black and red. So yeah, I have the idea of integers, like that would be.
And is that what led to the one you wrote an equation?
No, my equation was for the array, like 3 by 5, and then taking out the two. But then my aha moment was when somebody mentioned it, like the colors. I didn't even pay attention to the colors until
Mhm.
somebody else mentioned it. So
Thank you. Would anybody else like to share or? Oh, we've got a couple in the chat. Math can be simple or complex depending on the perspective. I like the idea that you can have different perspectives on math, both at the same time, chimes in D. Using colors and different size groups can make it easier to count. Yes, that is not on my list, but it should be because that, I think, is what we call subitizing. Somebody can correct me in the chat. Thank you, Danielle. Math topics are not as siloed as we often treat them. Yes, like I thought once we turned the chapter to a new chapter, I was good. I didn't have to see that ever again. I had no idea it was supposed to be connected. We're looking at all at the same image, but we saw geometry, we saw algebra, numbers, patterns. Yes, love it. Okay, good. I used the right math term. Thank you, Dee. So the idea that there can even be various units, that we can express quantity in different ways. Um, this this part made me think of a video. It's by Christopher Danielson, and it's a TED Ed video. And I know it's really popular, so you can find it just by searching his name. And it's called One is One, or Is It? That counting a set in a different order doesn't change the total. The numbers can be represented using objects, words, and symbols. and numbers can be broken apart and grouped in different ways to make mental calculations simpler. And we touched on some of these same kinds of concepts, and I just made this list. So this is just my brainstorm that I'm sharing with you. So you had other ideas in the chat, and if we talked more about it, I'm sure there could be more. All right, so we are going to be going to breakout rooms about what good math PD looks like. And you're going to have a choice of which breakout room to be going into. It's self-selected. The first breakout room is with Heidi, and it's to talk about the numeracy PD system design with questions like how do you decide what PD to offer? How do you sequence the topics so that they have coherence? How do you balance the idea of one-off that seems to be popular with sustained learning that we know has a stronger effect? And how do you ensure that PD leads to classroom change? We do not promise to hit all of these topics, but these are some things you could talk about in that group. And the list for the room with me about the content of the numeracy PD is how do we build beliefs and identities around math? How do we build mathematical knowledge for teaching? Or how do we build productive struggle and discourse in a math classroom? So these are your two options, and we are ready to set those up or push them out or however that works.
Choose your own adventure.
Yes. You don't have to jot down all these questions. We each have a slide we can share during the breakout room. Yes, Consuelo.
Both are very interesting. So are we switching breakout later, or is
It's a 120-minute commitment.
Oh, okay.
Good question. I'm gonna stop sharing and see if that helps me see if breakout rooms are here yet. I don't see them.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Am I supposed to be setting those up, Connie?
Yes. Sorry, I
okay.
did not review that. It was an email I sent to you like a couple weeks ago.
I am so sorry. Okay.
So we need two breakout rooms. Just put Heidi on one and Connie on the other. And then people can self-select which one to go into.
While that's being set up, Connie, you want to talk about that link I dropped in the chat at the end of that?
Sure. Thank you for
Big
adding
ideas.
that. Yeah,
Yep.
that's going to be on our resource list. So I did talk about big ideas, and that's a blog article that I wrote. And at the end of that article are two links for authors' ideas about big ideas, and it can give you a place to start if that's a new concept for you.
And if you don't get the link as
Yeah.
it's being dropped, we're going to share those out at the end again.
Yeah, we have a resource slide, and we will share things like that in the discussion group.
Yep.
At AALPD's in the discussion group there.
So
right.
we'll do room one is Heidi.
Oops.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry, you
You're
guys.
good.
I named them, and then whenever I put 20 minutes on it, so I apologize.
It's okay. I'm fixing it. We're good. So choosing my own adventure. Here we go.
And if people are having trouble getting to breakout room, you can let us know which one you'd like to go into in the chat, and we can put you there.
Ok, ma ci siamo. Dopo. Io faccio solo.
Io non so, ma questo ci sono.
Okay. So yes, that was not enough time in the breakout rooms. It never is. I'm just sharing a couple of slides with other design principles that we won't be addressing, and you'll have a link to all of the PD principles. These are the ones for design, and these are the one for the content principles. I did bold that last one because we are going to connect to a little bit of research. So that last one says, understand how research can be used to improve their effectiveness as teachers. I'm stretching that a little bit because we're here as professional developers, but here's our connection. Researchers found positive effects on student learning only for those teachers who began with a higher level of content knowledge, signaling that the effectiveness of PD might depend in part on how how solid a content foundation teachers have with which to absorb its lessons. So this is evidence that it's really important for us to connect to the content knowledge, that mathematical knowledge for teaching that I mentioned earlier, and to make sure that we deepen our understanding, because that's how we can be the most effective for our students.
All right. So we've been hitting in the chat a lot of links and a lot of resources, and we want to just highlight a few of them. That last one I just put in for the professional development has the link to that effective PD article. We reference it as the Darling-Hammond article, and it has effective practices for professional development. So if you're looking for some really quick, digestible way of doing PD, like what are the key things, I would recommend that. The Darling-Hammond. I was sharing in our group, so we had a great question about if you're not the mathy person, but you're wondering you may have to be one day, what do you do? How do you get your arms around that? And how do you design PD that's, invites everyone? And that was a great question. One of the things I suggested is learning about these instructional routines, like the one we did at the unit chat at the start. You can find 34, I think, is the final count of where we are on our collection of instructional routines. This is on our ANN webpage, and Mark Truszkowski, who was here earlier, he's our webmaster. He does a wonderful job of looking for instructional routines that are effective in the classroom. Some of these are specifically for math and numeracy. Some of them can be universal across all content areas. And so I would highly recommend you browse that. Right now, we also Mark and Aaron Liu, who's treasurer of our organization, they are offering monthly instructional routine club. And so if you want to learn about some of these routines, like the unit chat, you can go to our homepage and look at the event calendar and sign up for it. I know we got an email, I think just this morning, announcing the next one, I believe is April 15th. What a great way to spend tax day. Go to a mathy session, take your mind off of taxes. So I invite you to come to those kinds of things. This is a place where everyone is welcome. You do not need to be a mathy person to attend. The whole point is to come to these because you're wanting to learn about a new instructional routine. So you're expected to not know it all. That's the whole idea. So I learned something, even though some of these are routines I know, I go and I'm like, wow, I've never seen it done that way. That's a really cool way, and I'm going to steal that idea and reuse it. So feel free to attend, steal the ideas. We are all mathy people. We are also, as I mentioned, we're the hosting of the Math and Numeracy Strand at COABE. We are also, every year, we do a Teaching and Learning Institute. It's part of the pre-conference, and it's called Teaching and Learning because every one of us attend, not just as teachers, but as learners. And so our session this year, it's always on the Sunday before the full conference starts on Monday. The session is Mathopoly, engaging adult learners through mathematical gamification. So if you're attending or able to attend, it's a half-day session this year in the afternoon on that Sunday. And it's in White River Ballroom 1. All the concurrent sessions are in the same rooms. Can you back up one slide there?
Sorry.
They are in White River Ballroom A and B, and so you'll have two, not one, but two rooms to fill your mathy needs across the concurrent sessions of COABE, the 3 days for that. Guaranteed when you walk in, you'll find the table set up the way we model our math instruction. So you'll see resources and tools to play with, to explore with, and engage in math. We also, if we offer state memberships or group memberships. So if you are interested in becoming an ANN member for yourself or for your whole state, ANN does offer discounted group memberships, and it also includes a free 1-hour ANN-led PD session for your program or your state. So you can contact us. We also do workshops at state conferences, and so states will invite us to attend and present. So if you're ever looking for some math and numeracy PD, you can reach out to ANN and let us know. Next slide. Uh, More broadly, if you're wanting to learn more about what's beyond just the ANN resources, Connie and I both work for Turk, the Adult Numeracy Center at Turk, but our colleagues at Turk have the Forum for Equity in Elementary Mathematics. And even though it says elementary mathematics, it is very, very much an applicable thing for us in adult education. They have a forum speaker series. It's fantastic. It's got some of our the all-stars of math instruction that we all wish we could work with all the time. They're part of the speaker series. Even if you can't go, you can watch the recordings at zero cost. The Adults Learning Mathematics, that's again, our ALM, our international partnership. They host amazing seminar series as well, virtual sessions. I learned from them as well. They're doing a series right now learning about corrections in math. Working with those who are justice impacted individuals around the world. So it's not just the United States. Next up, I think, is just our resource list. We'll provide all of these resources to you. They've been dropped in the chat, but we'll put a summary out as well. We are going to be doing a follow-up discussion in the forum for AALPD. Next up, thanks. We're glad you guys could be here today. Sorry, Astrid, took all your time.
That's okay. And I think, Connie, are there a couple of AALPD slides? Yes, there are. Okay. Well, first, thank you so much, Heidi and Connie, for being here with us today. Great session. It went by too quickly, and I'm so glad you'll be back next month to continue the conversation. So first off, we do have a AALPD discussion group, and I'm putting that information in the chat if you'd like to join us, and we can continue the conversation that we started today in that discussion forum. Also, some upcoming events. ANN will be back again next month, April 30th, to explore strategies for developing new and emerging math instructors. And I will put that registration information in the chat. The ALPD is also hosting a pre-conference session at COABE focused on learning communities and communities of practice. That will be a full day session at COABE. And come meet and network with us at the AALPD Meet and Greet on April 14th. No need to register, just come by. That information will be going out in our AALPD email as well as on the Whova app. And then finally, help us plan for the future. If you have not yet completed our member survey, I encourage you to do that. You can also contact Sarah Goldammer, our president, directly with any feedback that you have or any requests for future professional development. And here is that link for the math session coming up in April. We hope you'll join us again. So thank you again for being here, Connie and Heidi, and for everyone who was able to join us. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. It's great to see you.
Thank you all.